All right. Yeah, so I just want to thank you for being here, and thanks for taking part in the democratic process.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, so that we just like to have you introduce yourself and say why you're running for the city council.
Yeah, my name is Jonathan Cordes. I'm running for city council because I feel like this current government is representing the citizens of Bend, and that's probably the biggest reason, to be quite honest, because a lot of people I know, they get dismissed a lot from the local government. And you know, I personally believe the government should be working for the people 24/7. I don't think being dismissed by the government should be, even a thing at all. Almost like police officers, they're public servants at the end of the day, and sometimes you have to remind the government you work for the people. But that's why I'm running, is to put that back in place and to stop them from making Bend into Portland. But yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about your background, where you work, what, some of your qualifications?
Yeah, well, technically the only qualification you need for running is to be a citizen, and which I am. And I'm born and native here at Bend, Oregon, same thing with my mother. But if you're going beyond the requirements is, my background, I did farming here locally. I was a wildland firefighter for a handful of years, caught my behind on fire for the state of Oregon. And now I do own a business outside of this state. I also own a media company I've started recently. I work for Corporate Capital. I do commercial lending with them as a senior loan consultant. I work with a lot of business owners on a daily basis, and bankers as well. I do acting now. I do modeling. I do a little bit of everything.
Okay, great.
So next question is about housing. So affordable housing has increasingly become a challenge in the city of Bend. As a city councilor, what policies would you support to ensure that affordable housing options continue to increase for all income levels?
Yeah, I think the biggest way to go about with that, I know a lot of people, they don't want to expand and they want to build up. But a lot of those people would have never moved here in Bend if there was apartment complexes everywhere. That's just a fact. No one would have moved here if this was a mini Portland. I think we should expand. Obviously, we have to build within the land we have in the city of Bend first before we're able to qualify to expand again. I think the way to do that is to make the permit process more streamlined and to work with a lot more developers. Because as of right now, most developers are leaving Bend because it takes anywhere between a year to 2 years to get approved. I think that's the biggest issue. I think that's the biggest thing that's holding people back from building or mass production of houses here locally. So we need to fix that first off. And then after that, I think expanding is the way. Because I know if we do a lot of apartment complexes, what's going to happen is obviously it's going to be more traffic dense. It's not going to be good anyone here locally. But the bigger thing is, everyone that's going to be getting these apartments, they're going to be paying the same amount in rent versus mortgage. And let's be real, at the end of the day, what's better for the citizens? A mortgage versus rent that's going to be goes to a big corporation that they're always going to be stuck in. Most people, they get a place, they get stuck there for 20 years. They might as well get stuck in a house that they could keep at the end of it. Mm-hmm. But I think expanding the growth boundary towards the desert is the best avenue. Because then with the tree code, we don't have to cut down as many trees, because obviously if we go to the west, we have all those pine trees and it's thick, which is not going to be easy or really with anyone. Versus the desert, it's going to be a lot easier, a lot less time to cut down trees, because that's one of the things, that's one of the biggest processes, cutting down trees before they get the land ready. That takes up and eats up a lot of time. But if you just cut down one juniper, because usually a juniper tree, most juniper trees can't grow within like a 50 to 100 feet radius of it because how much water it takes out of the ground. So it's a lot easier to walk around juniper trees versus ponderosa pine trees.
Mm-hmm. So according to the 2024 point in time count, there are about 959 people experiencing homelessness in Bend, with 55% of them living unsheltered. How do you plan to work to reduce homelessness and address concerns related to unsanctioned camping and shelter capacity?
Yeah, first off, I think the best way to help the homelessness, because just to be clear, I was homeless too before I became a wildland firefighter. Like I said, I ended up going to Job Corps. For the youth, I think getting them into different trade school programs is an extremely good way to get them out of homelessness. They learn a skill, they get a job lined out, and they have a place to live. And they teach them all the requirement skills to be able to be independent. But for not the youth, let's be real, a lot of the homeless people here locally, they do have full-time jobs. And the only thing is, well, there's not enough housing. Or if there is housing, people are trying to charge $1,200 a month to rent a room. There's this one homeless guy I'm friends with outside Vista Coffee. He goes there every day. He's had a full-time job. He's lived in Bend for 20 plus years. He's never rented a place. He's always been homeless on the street while working his job. Because Bend is just too expensive, you know. The basic and simple way to solve that is supply and demand and build more houses. So make the permit process more streamlined, get more developers out here, and just start expanding and build as many houses as possible. If we want to do the right thing for the citizens long term, is building houses versus apartment complexes that's going to go to a big corporation forever.
Okay, great. The 2023 and 2025 City Council goals emphasize equity as a main priority. How would you work to ensure that all residents feel welcome and represented in city policies and decisions?
What do you mean equity?
So we have like the Human Rights and Equity Commission.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so actually, the other night at City Council meeting, they started talking about, female victims. Because this month is a awareness month for assault and sexual assault and all kinds of stuff.
Right.
They did not once bring up men. Okay, over 1,078 dudes get killed a month. I think females is about 1,600. Females about 1.5 times more. But they don't bring that up, and guys are more likely to kill themselves too. So I think part of the issue is, the city council, I think they're doing good. They're really including, females and LGBTQ and people of color, but they really have forgotten about men and a lot of white people. And I think that's part of the divide that's happening here locally, because a lot of people do feel like they're getting left out. And if you're going to be excluding, half the group, you have to you have to bring everyone into the group. You can't just leave out these people because you think they can handle it. You can't leave these people out because they're dudes. I think that's part of the issue. The local government is focusing on a specific group and just throws out the other people. So first off, I would bring in everyone. I wouldn't leave someone out because they're white or straight or gay or black or whatever it is. Everyone should be involved and included. I know the local government has recently started a task force. This guy threw a walk and said a racist slur to a Hispanic person in Redmond a few days ago. The walk did not hit him, but they put him in jail for 5 days for saying a racist slur, and they give him 2 years of probation. To be quite honest, I think that's a bit too much. That almost sounds like the KGB, the Western Communist Party, to be honest. Same thing with the local school system as of right now. For example, if I don't invite someone to my lunch table, and let's say you're a female or a dude over there, doesn't matter. If I don't invite them over to my lunch table, that person could report me now for biasm and get me in trouble, and I would be investigated, my family would be investigated, and so on. So I think they're going overboard, to be quite honest. Could you imagine not inviting someone to your lunch table in school and they get in trouble for it? Not even thinking to invite them because you're just eating with your friends. They are pushing too much in the Communist Party direction, to be quite honest. Just so you guys know, on the political scale, I'm right dead in the center. I don't get along with the extreme right, I don't get along with the extreme left. I just want everyone to get along, but at the end of the day, when people are excluding different groups, doesn't matter what group it is, it's never going to work out.
So tell me about this bias thing. So Is this part of a school policy that?
Yeah, it just got released. I'm actually about to. I'm about to release a documentary about it. It's currently happening right now. They're teaching it in the schools. I have a handful of people sending me videos of the classes and what's happening in the classes. So, like, let's say you go in the bathroom in school. There's a QR code you can scan, and you can report anyone you want for any type of biasm. Biasm because, you know, their sexuality or their color or because of their gender or whatever you could think. And people, to be quite honest, I think they're taking advantage of that program, and they're getting people in trouble that shouldn't be getting in trouble at all.
Okay, so it's like you've been able to access the data around how many
Yeah,
crimes are reported?
yeah. So I got the classroom I got the video what they're giving the kids to watch. I got the documentaries they're doing, like the docs, like all the paperwork on. I got the emails they send out to all the parents. I won't be releasing it here probably in the next few days on social media.
Okay.
But I personally think the local government is pushing too much in the KGB, like the Western Communist Party direction.
Will you send that to me when you
Yeah.
finish it?
Yeah, I can send you the videos. I can send you all the stuff I got.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we've talked a lot about growth. I think I had more of a general question around that, but I'm going to skip it. Some residents have voiced concerns around infrastructure projects in Bend, like the Hawthorne pedestrian bridge, over issues like increased costs and viability. What are your thoughts on that project, and how would you plan to support future infrastructure plans in
So,
council?
to be quite honest, that bridge I don't think is a good resource of time or energy to focus on. It's going to, obviously they're using $40 million from a grant, so it's now coming directly from the citizens of Bend, which is nice. But what's going to end up happening is either going to become it's probably going to become a homeless camp, to be quite honest. And the maintenance, we're going to pay, obviously we're going to maintenance the bridge on a regular, yearly basis. Every business owner I've talked to in that area, they don't want it. No one wants it. Just so you know too, they're going to do the bridge, and then they want the street of Minnesota downtown to become into a back lane only, where people could walk, and only back lanes, no cars could go through. So that street that goes through all the streets downtown, they're trying to make it into a pure back lane. That's going to destroy half the businesses downtown. I think, I'm sure you guys know if you live in Bend, as of right now we can't even snow plow the main streets in time. For us to snow plow the new back lanes they're making, you have to buy a Pacific snow plow. No one's going to be able to have enough time to even do that. These back lanes are only going to be able to be used half the time out of the year. Like, I don't know if you ever try to ride a bike in snow before, it's not really doable.
It's pretty tough.
Yeah. You're almost better off walking at that point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I don't approve of it at all.
Okay.
I'm just gonna look at your page because I think we have a different.
I think
your document is a little.
You're on this one.
Okay.
And I think this is just, I printed a later copy.
Okay. So the increasing cost of citywide fees like the transportation fee have garnered a lot of controversy over the last year. What are your thoughts on the city's approach to infrastructure funding?
To be quite honest, I think they should have got the citizens of Bend's approval on that beforehand. I think there should be a way where the citizens of Bend could vote on certain things before it happens. For example, the back lanes, only the bike advocates, they voted on, only them. I think it should have been open to the whole city of Bend to be able to vote if they wanted these bike lanes. And they didn't get that chance. Just like at the affordable housing panel they had the other day. The city, they want the people to be able to vote, the single mothers who doesn't have time to go to the meetings, they want them to have a way to be able to vote still. And I proposed, why don't we do online voting, or on online voting we could even do a mail-in voting. I think that's an extremely important thing we should be doing, just for the local people to be able to have a chance.
Mail-in voting for not during the elections,
so,
like for other
so
stuff?
like for different decisions that will happen in Bend, because they were asking what way should we be able to provide those single mothers that has a full-time job that can't go to the meetings and vote. How can they still have a voice? I think mail-in voting, or even in-person voting the day before or something like that might be a better avenue. Because as of right now, usually the people that have time to go to vote at some of these meetings, to be quite frank, is usually the more wealthy people of Bend who has a lot more free time. And usually that's the only voice that is being held in Bend.
So, just on the not the transportation fee, because I do understand we did not have a chance to vote on that, that was a city council vote. But the transportation go bond, we did have a chance to vote on.
But that was hijacked by the bike advocates, and that's another thing I don't like. So a lot of the people on the city council, they're also a part or become presidents of all these different committees, and they almost have a monopoly. And let's be real, most of these committees are supposed to try to keep the city council in check. But as most people don't know this, the majority of the bike committee is full of city councilors. At one point, almost every single one of them, not all of them, but a handful of them was the president of the bike committee. So everything they did was just hijacked. It was it's almost like how Megan Norris, how she also works for Hayden Homes. She's super high up. Is she really trying to help the citizens of Bend to get affordable housing, or is she trying to fill up her wallet more? There's a lot of contradictions with these different people's jobs and committees they're a part of. I'm about to start a petition where no one on city council could also be on a committee. So I don't think that's a correct thing anyone should be doing.
Okay, so just talking about Megan for a second. Earlier you talked about, you want to bring more developers in. Sounds like, you want to support developers being in the community. Talk about, how you see that squaring. We have a city councilor who works for a developer. I mean, I guess some voters might think that's a good thing because we need more housing, we need a more development-friendly environment. I don't know, what are your thoughts on those two things working together?
Well, you can work together, but let's be real, how do we know she's working for the best interest of the citizens of Bend, or she's working the best interest for Hayden's home? There's just no way you can prove it until you see the product that comes out. And I haven't seen any product directly from Hayden Homes. Like, have we seen her directly talk to the owner of Hayden Homes, saying what she wants to do and give this or X amount of properties to citizens of Bend for a lower down price? I haven't seen anything like that. If you have, tell me now, but I haven't seen anything.
So you think it's a problem to have a developer on the city council?
I think it is. It could almost be like a bias, maybe not a bias, but a conflict of interest.
Yeah.
Just like how someone could be on the city council and also be on all these committees. Because so something most people don't know, a lot of these they usually pick the city council people, they try to hand pick people from the committees before they ever come on the city council. Like Megan Norris. They handpicked a few different people, I think, before Megan Norris. They picked specific people that would do exactly what they say every single time. If you look at Megan Norris, she has never once voted no on anything they vote on. She always does exactly what they tell her to do. And that's another issue. I like Bob Campbell because she actually is more independent. She does speak her mind. She's not a part of that group that's trying to control exactly what they're doing. I give Bob Campbell props for that because it's probably not easy when you have 6 other people trying to convince you to do one thing. I think Bob Campbell, she's probably been on the better side than some of those other city council members.
If you were in that room and you're one of 7, how would you handle that if you're the one person constantly? Do you see yourself being that person who would constantly vote the opposite of what the others would vote?
If it doesn't make sense for the citizens of Bend, yes. If it makes sense for the citizens of Bend and that's what they want, then I would vote in the direction that I believe the citizens of Bend want.
Okay.
Because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what I want. It matters what the citizens of Bend wants. But to be quite frank, my biggest plan, if I get on or don't get on, I'm going to use my social media platform to expose everything they're doing, from here on out.
I mean, let's talk about social media for a second. You kind of have, once you have a social media account and you become a counselor, you sort of have these rules around what you can say and what you can't say, or, how you use that. How do you see yourself approaching that if you become a counselor and you have rules around what you can say and do there?
Yeah, it's pretty simple. I'm actually about to sign off my social media account over to a media company, so it wouldn't be legally mine. So anything that is said isn't me, legally.
Okay,
Yeah,
so it's as simple as that.
yeah.
Okay. One more question before we kind of get to the wrap up. Groundwater is a growing concern in the region. What's your approach to this? Should you be on the city council? And do you agree with the recent decision by the Oregon Water Resources Department to limit new permits? What do you think that'll mean for Bend?
So I'm not aware about the new permits.
Okay.
Could you go a little bit more in detail?
So basically we're experiencing some declining groundwater levels in this region. The Oregon Water Resources Department has said we're not going to issue a permit if there are findings that there's not enough groundwater in that place.
You mean for like a
Previously-
farm to have
For a
water
farm or
wise?
anybody who wants to dig a new well.
Mm-hmm.
So in the past it was an automatic yes, and now it's not an automatic yes that you can dig that if the resources department has said there's not enough water here. So this has become an issue for Redmond, getting permits for expansion. They're finding, the Oregon Water Resources Department is saying, we don't know if we're gonna issue your new permit because we don't know if you have enough groundwater here. You can see how this can become a problem if you're trying to, grow your city.
Yeah, no, most definitely. Obviously, I believe in the back to Eden gardening. Actually, the other night there was a group of young ladies. They had a video that actually demonstrate the back to Eden gardening. And the way you do it is you use wood chips and leaves, and you put it on the crops. And the reason why you do it retains the water. It also fungus grows into the wood chips, connects to the plant's root system. I think most farms should go back to the Eden gardening system. It's more productive usually. The plants usually flourish or grow a lot better and faster and stronger. Because they don't just have the root connection, they also have connection to all this fungus that's connected out to everything else.
Yeah.
I think that's one thing people should be doing if they're trying to grow plants. I don't know, are people allowed to collect rainwater? So that's something.
I don't believe it's a banned in our city, like as far as I know.
Yeah, I guess if someone's trying to do something, maybe collect rainwater too. I'm not too sure. I haven't really looked into this parliament about the water stuff, so I don't
Yeah, I
want to
think it's
speak
just
too
like
much
one
on
of those ongoing issues that's going to come up as we try to grow. It's like, okay, well, is the state going to say that we can't have, that we can't grow because of this water issue? So, yeah, sounds like a growth opportunity for you.
There's also this one guy who's recently made a machine. Well, he goes around to different poor neighborhoods, I believe in LA and Arizona, and it pours water out of the L and it makes clean drinkable water. There's a handful of different machines like that. I know in Africa too, they have this one machine that you put in the ground, and I don't know how it works exactly, but it makes all these giant ice cubes. Well, like the whole thing just becomes ice around it. It pulls the moisture from the L too.
Interesting.
There's a few different machines out there that you can harvest water from the L.
I mean, it's going to be more and more an issue for everybody, all the way from city councils to,
State level and federal level, yeah.
Definitely. You want to do the last one?
Yeah. Okay, well, great. Well, like that pretty much is all the questions. Our last sort of wrap-up question is just what sets you apart from your opponent?
The biggest thing is, compared to any candidate, I'm the only local, born and raised native here in Bend. Same thing with my mother. Most people are not from here. Everyone's moved here. And at the end of the day, my opinion doesn't really matter. It matters what the citizens of Bend want, and that's what I want to do. If a handful of people came to me and they told me they want something else than what I was thinking, I would go exactly the direction of the citizens of Bend every single time. There's no need or no reason to really push the opposite agenda. Because let's be real, the government works for the people.
What if you're hearing competing opinions from your constituents? One person told you this, that they feel strongly about this, and the other person gave you the complete opposite. How would you square that?
I guess it depends on how many people are talking to me and how many people express their concerns. If it's just like one-on-one, I guess I would try to talk to a handful more citizens. If it's, 1 and 2, probably still talk to more to find out a bigger basis. It's almost like taking a survey. You talk to 100 people, let's say 70 people said yes, 30 people said no. You would go with the majority.
Yeah. Is there anything that we didn't bring up today that you wanted to talk about? Any issues?
No, I think you guys had some amazing questions, and I really want to say thank you for this time. I really appreciate you guys in rescheduling this as well, so I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for coming in.
Yeah, thank you.
Great. All right.